watching Major League Baseball on TSN, Canada's exclusive home of the World Series. With a 46-13 record and on pace to win 126, the best ever in Major League Baseball, the 1998 Yankees are bringing back memories of some of the Bronx Bombers of the past. Only history will tell if Derek Jeter, Bernie Williams, and Hideki Irabu will go down in history with the likes of Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, and Roger Maris. But one thing is certain. So far this season, this team has been pounding its opponents and is dominating on the road, as they have the past two nights in Montreal, outscoring the Expos 17-3. The Yankees go for the sweep at the Big O. Andy Pettitte facing rookie Carl Pavano next. Expos baseball on TSN. Tonight, the Yankees and the Expos, live from Olympic Stadium.
They've got New York ties, first with the Mets, then with the Yankees. Darryl Strawberry and David Cohn live and interactive here on TSN. Hi, everybody, and welcome again to Baseball Tonight on the Sports Network. I'm Rod Smith. Light night on the Major League schedule. Only one game in the National, one in the American, and two in the Interleagues. We have one of those, and that is the Yankees and Expos finishing off a series at Montreal. And for the Expos, who have lost two straight to these Bronx Bombers, it is, the very least, a chance to see one of the best teams of all time, at least so far. That's the way their numbers have projected. They have been that dominant. Let's get more now from Olympic Stadium. Here are Dave Van Horn and Gary Carter.
Well, Rod, the New York Yankees have won 8 straight. They've got the best winning percentage in all of Major League Baseball. The big question is, Gary, how good are these New York Yankees?
They're very good. In fact, they're on a pace to possibly win 126 games. This is the records through the years, and the 1906 Cubs had 116 wins. Now, there might be a time during the season that they might go through a lull, but for the most part, they've got a veteran ball club. They've got guys that can fill in, like Louis Soho filling in for Derek Jeter, now Chad Curtis for Bernie Williams. You got Tim Raines, you got Darryl Strawberry, you got a number of guys that have really done a great job, and they're leading the league in hitting as a team, and they're leading the league in pitching. So what more can you ask for?
And they've got a terrific manager in Joe Torre, who runs that ball club. Well, the Expos are pitching Carl Pavano tonight. It's his 4th Major League start. He goes up against a powerful New York Yankee ball club. How about Carl Pavano?
I've liked what I've seen so far of him, and here's what he's done in his 3 starts. And he's had some pretty good challenges. Twice against Curt Schilling, also on June the 2nd, picking up his first Major League win against Schilling. But here's a guy that has pitched also against Dennis Martinez and now is against Andy Pettitte and these New York Yankees. I like what I've seen. He's got good quality stuff, and he just gets better with each start.
Yankees have won the first 2. The Expos would love to salvage one. Andy Pettitte, the left-hander, on the mound tonight for the New York Yankees, and right-hander Carl Pavano for the Expos. Beautiful night for baseball in Montreal and at Olympic Stadium here in the east end of the city. The Expos get set to take on the New York Yankees. This is the final game of the 3-game series with the Yankees, final game of an Expos homestand. And Joe Torre's Yankees, they are strong and powerful and have a great record. A moment ago I said an 8-game win streak. Well, I was partly right. It's actually a 9-game win streak. So they had to win 8 to get there, didn't they?
Yes,
but look at that ERA. 1.65 over the stretch. They're getting terrific starts from their entire rotation. And tonight, they present a challenge to Carl Pavano in his 4th Major League start. Chuck Knobloch to lead it off. Luis Sojo is batting number 2. Paul O'Neill in right, hitting 3rd. Then Tino Martinez in the cleanup spot. Darryl Strawberry making his first start in this series. Chad Curtis in center field for the injured Bernie Williams. Scott Brocious at 3rd base. Joe Girardi behind the plate, and Andy Pettitte is batting 9th. Carl Pavano and a hard-throwing right-hander.
Yes, he is, and his last start was on June the 2nd. You see his numbers. He got his first Major League win in Philadelphia, and hitters are hitting just 194 against him. Has allowed 14 hits in 19 2/3 innings and has struck out 14. And he's up against another very tough ball club, this New York Yankee team that has 46 wins and just 13 losses.
In steps Chuck Knobloch to lead it off for the Yankees. 27-year-old veteran of 8 years in the big leagues. The previous 7 with the Minnesota Twins. Now wearing the Yankee uniform. Knobloch batting at .279. Ball 1, no strikes. We're underway at Olympic Stadium. Pavano to Knobloch. And a called strike, and the count is 1-1. Knobloch is a good hitter. He's got a career batting average just over 300. And he's one of several Yankees. And in his case, he is the leadoff batter. Several Yankees in the lineup tonight have been leadoff hitters. Ball smashed to the third base end of the seats down behind the Yankee dugout.
That's exactly correct. And Chuck Knobloch, that was the one position that the New York Yankees were looking to fill, and that was second base. They made the trade prior to the season. They got their leadoff guy. They got a guy that can get on base, steal bases, and plays a fine second base.
The pitch to Knobloch inside. And 2 balls and 2 strikes. Knobloch, one who goes through a lot between pitches. Always steps out, adjusts the batting gloves, back in. Strike 3 over the outside corner. Let's take a look at this strikeout pitch, Gary. And what will the Yankees do other than try to take a look at some of Pavano's pitches here? What do they do against a pitcher they've never seen?
First of all, they want to see all of his pitches. Carl Pavano, good live fastball and slider. Right here, he gets Knobloch on a good sharp slider that catches the outside corner. That's the only thing you can do the first go around, is just see what kind of velocity he has.
Luis Sojo playing for the injured Derek Jeter. Jeter's on the DL. He went on the disabled list the 4th of June with a strained abdominal muscle. So now they have 2 of their star players, Jeter and Bernie Williams, on the DL. Williams going on the DL last night. He's back in New York. Ricky Leday, who's been called up to replace him on the 25-man roster, will not join the Yankees here. He'll join the Yankees at the stadium tomorrow in New York.
Well, Luis Sojo, though, has also been a starter on other ball clubs, the California Angels, the Seattle Mariners. So he just fits right in until Jeter's ready to come back.
1 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes on Sojo, the veteran shortstop, who actually broke into the big leagues right up here north of the border with the Jays.
Exactly.
Two pitch, and that ball's hit foul out of play.
Just to follow up on what you had asked about what Yankee hitters can expect and look for with Carl Pavano. You know, they get a scouting report on every pitcher and every team, and I guess their approach has to be, well, let's see what kind of velocity he has and not try to do too much with every pitch. And Sojo looked like he was trying to go right field.
Pavano missing low and outside. Now ball 3 and a full count to the veteran Sojo, who's in his 9th big league season. He's 32 years old. The veteran Yankee club. Payoff pitch, and Sojo pops it up. That'll be out of play.
I detected in your voice when you said 32 years old, like it sounds like he's a real old guy. But in baseball terms, when you get past 30, you become a wily veteran. All right. And basically, you're kind of getting to that point and stage in a career where they start looking at that age differential.
People look at you and start saying, are you still around?
Yeah. Are you that old, for crying out loud?
3-2 the count on Sojo.
Yeah, it was kind of funny to talk to Tim Raines prior to the game, a teammate for a number of years, and last night having the opportunity of stealing his 800th base and all, and he's at 38 years old. He wants to keep playing.
Broken bat, ground ball to short. On his heels, Bressolana can't get the throw there. He found himself in a bad fielding position and was not able to make a good strong throw because he was on his heels.
Agreed. I think right here you can see he just didn't have himself planted enough, and he didn't have enough on the throw. The throw was low. I don't know if he was trying to utilize the AstroTurf, but in this case, Soho, who had a little bit of a late start out of the box, gets the infield single.
One out, one on. Here's Paul O'Neill. A 17-game hitting streak for O'Neill. 35-year-old veteran has his average at .235. He takes low, had 3 hits in the game here last night. O'Neill is in the top 10 in the American League. Currently 5th in the league. Chase the pitch there. 1 ball and 1 strike.
When you look at this Yankee ball club, though, they have 4 guys in the top 10 in hitting, with Bernie Williams, Paul O'Neill, Derek Jeter, who's on the DL, and Scott Brocious. But you just saw the numbers that Paul O'Neill has posted with this 17-game hitting streak.
1-1 pitch. Missed inside, and 2 balls and a strike. With 1 out, the Expos infield is at double play depth. Carl Pavano, the 22-year-old rookie, stands 6'5". O'Neill, a strong left-handed batter, and will take the ball the other way. That missed outside. 3-1 now to O'Neill.
What's even more amazing is what O'Neill has done since becoming a Yankee. Has hit over 300 in 5 straight seasons.
Ball fouled away left side. We'll get back to that thought in a moment. Defensively, behind Pavano tonight in the outfield, Robert Perez, Rondell White, and Vladimir Guerrero. And on the infield, Ryan McGuire, F.P. Santangelo, Mark Bresolonic, Shane Andrews, and Chris Widger behind the plate. Paul O'Neill, along with the disabled Bernie Williams, first pair of Yankee outfielders to hit 300 or better in 3 straight seasons since Ruth and Combs. Babe Ruth and Earl Combs, 6 straight seasons back in the 1920s and early 30s.
And what's even more amazing is the trade that was involved with Paul O'Neill that sent Roberto Kelly and Joe DeBerry to the Cincinnati Reds. And this was after Paul O'Neill hit 246 in 1992. He goes to the Yankees, hits 311. The following year, he leads the league in hitting at 359. And he's also had consistency with home runs. So he has just been a dynamo in their lineup.
O'Neill hits the ball right to the shortstop. Bresolonic got it, tags the runner for the double play to end the inning. Andy Pettitte will face this Felipe Alou batting order for tonight's game. F.P. Santangelo, Robert Perez, and Vladimir Guerrero at the top. Then Rondell White, Chris Widger, and Mark Bresolonic, followed by Shane Andrews, Ryan McGuire, and Carl Pavano. And Andy Pettitte, who is 7-5, he wants to win badly. Here's a Yankee club. They've only lost 13 games. He's got 5 of those losses.
Exactly. And you see the rest of his numbers there. Has only allowed 7 home runs, but look at the hit total. More hits than innings pitched, and batters are hitting 294 against him. He does have the 59 strikeouts. He's 58-29 lifetime, but you're right, Dave. Andy Pettitte would like to keep this win streak alive.
In the Yankee outfield, Darryl Strawberry, Chad Curtis, and Paul O'Neill. On the infield, first to third, Tino Martinez, Chuck Knobloch, Luis Soho, Scott Brocious. Behind the plate, Joe Girardi. Now let's see why Bernie Williams is not in this game tonight. Let's go back to last night's game in the 6th inning.
The steal at third base, but watch how his leg gets tucked under his body. And because of that, they're calling it a sprained right knee, and it'll put him out of action. They've put him on the disabled list.
So the Yankees are actually playing short tonight because Ricky Leday, who's been called up, won't join them until tomorrow, as I mentioned. So a 24-man Yankee roster against the Expos tonight. Andy Pettitte ready to go up against FP Santangelo. Switch hitter leading it off and takes a strike. FP is batting just .229. An on-base percentage of .323. This has been a problem spot for the Expos, the leadoff spot. Pettitte deals. Looks like he took something off that pitch, and 2 strikes on FP Santangelo. The Expos have had FP Santangelo and Jose Vidro for the most part in the leadoff spot, along with Mark Gresolonic. And a couple of others have had some starts there, but combined, if you take all of the Expos batting averages that have been in the leadoff spot while they're in a game batting in the #1 position, they're hitting less than 200. See, that's a problem.
Big time problem. That's your setup guy. He's the guy that has to get on base to set up the rest of the lineup. And if you can't get that guy on base, you're not going to score a lot of runs.
Santangelo down on strikes. The switch hitter unable to solve Andy Pettitte's pitches here the first time around.
Pretty good job of pitching by Pettitte. He goes fastball away, then he goes off speed changeup, and then he goes a little cutter down and in, and he gets FP Santangelo swinging for the first out.
Pitches to different locations and a change of speeds. Nothing better than that to keep a hitter off balance.
Well, that's it, Dave, and that's how most pitchers are successful, is if they mix up the pitches and move the ball around the plate.
Robert Perez, Gary, has gone 14 for 38. Now that works out to a .368 average. So he hasn't been playing every day, but when he's in there, he gets hits. This young man from Venezuela had 3+ years with the Jays. Foul ball squibbed off to the right side.
Yeah, I'll never forget the meetings near the end of spring training, and the talk was again about Mike Hubbard and Robert Perez. Robert Perez ended up going to Seattle, and then Raul Chavez ended up going to Seattle in the trade that brought Robert Perez here. But Pete Buchanan had seen him many occasions, liked his bat, said this guy can definitely hit.
Robert Perez is the batter. Plate.
They're going to appeal, and I bet you he's going to ring him up. That ball caught home plate umpire Jerry Davis, so he's going to take a moment here before he maybe asks for the appeal. But it looked as though Robert Perez might have gone around a little too far. But watch where the ball comes up. Joe Girardi doesn't block it, but it comes right up into the neck area of Jerry Davis. And if they do eventually appeal, now Mike Kozak, the assistant trainer out there to check on Jerry Davis, but it probably got him right in that Adam's apple area, and that is a very tough area, especially if he has to yell balls and strikes. Take one more look here. Watch Girardi, though. He doesn't make any attempt to go over and try and catch that ball, and it goes right up underneath the face mask of Jerry Davis, but he'll gather himself and he'll be all right.
He'll be using more signs tonight. Now that his voice box has been bruised.
I like it.
Tough place back there. But then I don't have to tell you that, do I?
No. Been there, done that.
Robert Perez in here. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Here comes the pitch. Down on strikes. Back-to-back strikeouts to open the game for Andy Pettitte.
Once again, good location on Andy Pettitte's way of pitching. Went away early on, and then look at this ball. Good, hard, sharp slider down and in on Robert Perez, and gets him swinging.
2 down, and Guerrero up here. Look at the win since '96. That's an interesting number. We'll try to get back to that for you with Andy Pettitte leading the way. Now that might fool a lot of people, that stat. 2 balls, no strikes. That would probably start with myself.
Well, exactly. Was 18-7 with a 2.88 in 35 starts last year in '97. And Another good pitch on the outside corner. Had 39 wins, 97 and 98, was tops of the American League and tied with John Smoltz for the Major League lead. So when you hear the name Andy Pettitte, he's right up there amongst some of the top pitchers ever.
Off the end of the bat, he broke his bat, but that bat goes out a champion because Vladimir Guerrero comes up with a single into right center with 2 outs here in the first inning.
Guerrero stayed right with it. And like you said, Dave, it died a champion. We used to like to call it that it died a hero because that bat will no longer be used. But Guerrero gets the first hit for the Expos as he lines it into right center field, falling in front of Chad Curtis.
2 down. The Expos have their first hit. Rondell White is the batter against Andy Pettitte. And a comebacker to Pettitte. Spins around and throws to first for the 3rd out of the inning. And we've got no score in Montreal after an inning with the Expos and the Yankees. The Yankees and the Expos scoreless after 1. Tino Martinez will be the leadoff batter here in the second. Last night, as a result of an error, he got in an at-bat in the first inning of the game.
And it was a high changeup that he belted over the right field fence for his 9th home run of the year. That gave the Yankees the early 2-0 lead in the first inning. Now he's a little bit off of last year's pace where he hit 44 home runs. And if it wouldn't have been for Ken Griffey Jr. hitting 56 last year, that man right there, Tito Martinez, might have been the MVP in the American League.
30 years old, 3rd year with the Yankees now. Batting .299. Pavano working. 1 strike to Tino Martinez. Yankees as a team came in tonight hitting .300. Tied with the Texas Rangers. Highest team batting average in Major League Baseball.
That's really something when you think about that, for your team as a whole to be batting .300.
Here's the 1-1, and it's fouled straight back.
It's just enough in itself that if you have a couple of .300 hitters, that's one thing. But when the entire team as a whole is hitting .300, then you know that you're scoring a lot of runs and certainly getting a lot of hits.
Over the inside corner, the 1-2 pitch. Now, what did he do to get Tino to where he couldn't pull the trigger?
He had his fastball move back at him. See, he cuts it, and it comes back out over the plate. And I believe that just froze Tino Martinez, and he just couldn't pull the trigger. He went away initially, and again, good location to freeze Martinez.
Darryl Strawberry, now 36 years old in his 15th year. Playing once again at Olympic Stadium as he did all those years with the Mets. He always loved hitting here. Has hit one of the longest home runs in the history of this stadium.
It's not some bad totals right there. Olympic Stadium, .291 average. And one of the longest ones ever is right here. Boom.
That was Randy St. Clair on the mound, 1988. And it hit the cement facade above the lights here at Olympic Stadium. They estimate that home run traveled 525 feet.
Wow. Well, he hit some prolific home runs, Darryl Strawberry did. And then one of the reasons that they have that line up there is to be able to tell one way or another.
3rd strikeout for Pavano. Strawberry down on strikes. 2 outs in the second.
Started him off with a changeup, ended him up with a fastball. Good pitching by Carl Pavano, gets his 3rd strikeout of the game.
Chad Curtis, the batter. The veteran who has been around, now 29 years old. He's played with the Angels, Tigers, Dodgers, Indians, now the Yankees. 1 strike to Curtis. Curtis, another one of the many Yankees that has been at one time or another in his career a leadoff hitter. And the Yankees as a team really grind out their at-bats, don't they, Gary?
Yes, they do. And here's a real feisty little player, too. He gets on base, steals bases, and he plays a very solid outfield. wanted to mention one more time about that line up there. The original guy to hit the facade up there was Dave Kingman. One of the reasons that they had to paint those orange lines. Darryl Strawberry, we mentioned, did it in '88, but Dave Kingman was the one that did it way back when there was no lines and they didn't know what to call it. So they ended up calling it a foul ball. And then soon after that, they painted those lines on there and had somebody hanging from the that facade to paint those things. I don't know. I wouldn't have wanted that job.
He struck out the side here in the second. Carl Pavano gunned down 3 Yankees. Martinez, Strawberry, and Curtis. No score in the second.
Germany, a relatively small country. Remarkably, it produces 3 of the world's finest automobiles. One of them is the new 200 horsepower 30-valve A6 from Audi. It fits quite nicely between the other 2, the A4 and the A8, also from Audi.
Baseball Tonight update from South Florida. The only other game going on in Major League Baseball at the moment. The Marlins get on the board against the New York Mets in the bottom of the first inning. Edgar Renteria driving in Todd Dunwoody. He'd later score on a base hit by Cliff Floyd. 2-0 Marlins. Back to David Garrett.
And no score here, bottom of the second. Chris Widger will lead it off against Andy Pettitte. Chris Widger coming up here trying to shake off the throes of a slump. He is just 1 for his last 18. Pettitte and Pavano scoreless in the second. Ball 1, no strikes to Widger, who has moved up to the number 5 spot in the batting order for this assignment against Andy Pettitte from the Yankees. 2 balls, no strikes. Just the 5th time this season that he has hit in the 5th spot. More often than not, Widger has been hitting 7th or 8th. Three and 1 the count on Chris Widger. Widger chasing what would have been ball 4.
Maybe a little bit too anxious. When you're a little bit in a slump, you try to go after some other pitches to get out of that slump. In that case, he went for probably ball 4.
And so now that gives great hope to Andy Pettitte, doesn't it? Came back and got him, struck him out. So instead of walking him as a leadoff hitter, he struck him out.
Exactly, and the slump continues, and that's what happens when you are struggling. For Andy Pettitte, you look at his scouting report, good live fastball, stays away early, got a big curveball, good slider, and he's got a tremendous pickoff move. Obviously, the Yankees are relying on him for the season, and along with David Wells and David Cone, but he's one of their top pitchers.
Mark Bressolonic takes a strike. He's batting at .237. You know, it could just be, Gary, and I don't profess to have the answer here. Sharp ground ball to Knobloch. Bressolonic's out. But it could just be that in the case of Mark Bressolonic and the low batting average and the errors, it could be the case of a player just having a poor start, poor first half of a season, because he has done some things in baseball that don't just happen to everyday to players every day. Right. A couple of years ago, I mean, this young man had over 200 hits in 1996, and I mean that is quite an accomplishment, and he just can't seem to get it going this year. Maybe the second half will be different for him.
Let's hope so.
2 down, Dane Andrews.
I think for Mark Grzelcyk, I think he's maybe gotten to a point where the fans have started to turn against him too, just disgruntled over the way his contractual situation has been, and now has gotten himself in such a rut that maybe it might be best for him to you know, just start thinking that, hey, I've got to turn it around. The only one that can do it is Mark Grzelcyk.
Andrews broke his back. That's all for the Expos in the second. In Montreal, we're scoreless at the end of 2. You're looking at Tim Raines, a former Expo, became just the 4th player this century to reach the 800 plateau in stolen bases in this century. Henderson, Brock, and Cobb. Big night last night for Tim Raines.
It really was.
You know, I've been trying to do it for 3 years. You know, I got hurt the last 2 years. I missed like 5 months of the last 2 seasons. So it couldn't have come at a better time, though. First time back in Montreal since 1990, and to get an opportunity to do it back here where I started, and not only that, my wife being here. She started first in the 800, so it was a great feeling.
Tim Raines. He has had a good time back here visiting Montreal. His wife Virginia with him, and it was terrific that she was able to be here to see that last night. Tim now 38 years old. You know, he's playing in his 20th season of Major League Baseball.
That's really hard to believe. He wants to play 20 full seasons. He came up in '79, but he told us prior to the game that that's what he wants to do, play at least 2 more years.
Scott Brosius, the batter. Bottom third of the Yankee order, 3rd inning, no score.
You talk about another guy that has turned this ball club around. It's Scott Brosius. The Charlie Hayes, Wade Boggs situation, well, that's gone. Scott Brosius, he was involved in the trade to Oakland. Kenny Rogers, and look at what he's done. He hit .203 last year, and he's hitting .328 this year. You don't think he's been an impact on this club?
Well, when the Yankees brought him over, Gary, they said just do the job at third base that you're capable of doing, and if you hit .250, we'll be as happy as can be. And look what he's doing.
Exactly.
Hitting .328. Playing very well at third base. And one of the many reasons why this New York Yankee club has the best record in all of baseball. 1-2 the count on Brosius. Joe Girardi will follow. On the ground for the Expos third baseman, St. Andrews. 1 away. Yeah, we were talking about Tim Raines a moment ago, and I wanted to mention that last night before the game, I talked to Tim down on the field, and I told him, I said, Tim, I know when you came up, I know what all the numbers look like, but I've forgotten your first stolen base.
Right.
And I had looked back in the Expos media guide of that year and everything, and it wasn't mentioned, and I said, who was it against, and who was the pitcher, and who was the catcher? And he said, Dave, I don't know. He said, I was just so happy to be up with the big league club. I was only used in the September of '79 as a pinch runner. I didn't get an at-bat in. I just pinch ran. And he said, I don't remember it all. He said it might have been in Chicago where I joined the club, might have been at Olympic Stadium. He couldn't remember the ballpark, the pitcher, or the catcher, but we looked it up and we found out it was right here in this ballpark against the Cardinals. Ground ball off Girardi's bat to second base and 2 down. Now, how about a little further to Timmy's numbers? Let's take a look at the comparison now. The Kid and the Rock.
Ooh.
Games played. Yeah, pretty close. About 100 difference there. And at-bats, very, very close. Total bases, same neighborhood.
Ooh.
Doubles.
Yeah, but then we get to the old
stolen bases, and it's like a Formula One racing machine against a Mack truck.
Absolutely correct, David. You saw me run, and even though I had 10 stolen bases in one season, can't compare to the Rock. In fact, he might be one of the most exciting guys to watch run.
Ball's hit foul down the left field line by Andy Pettitte.
There's certain ball players that you love to see run, and especially if they get like a double or a triple. Tim Raines also was one of those guys you'd love to watch run from first to third.
Pettitte goes down on strikes, and Pavano has been something else, hasn't he, for 3 innings? No score here.
You remember Jay. He still doesn't say very much, especially when he's enjoying his McCain Super Fries. And he doesn't seem to care that they've only got 5% fat because they still taste great. McCain Super Fries, deep fried flavor and crispness with only 5% fat. For the strong, silent type.
You don't need much in your pockets with Wendy's Super Value Menu. Only $1.39 for our hot and juicy Junior Bacon Cheeseburger with 2 strips of bacon. Or Biggie Fries or a Biggie Drink. And for just 99 cents, you can get a Junior Hamburger Deluxe, a small Frosty, or a baked potato.
Excuse me, this must be yours.
There it is. Wendy's Super Value Menu. Delicious choices, just 99 cents or $1.39 every day.
Here comes Ryan McGuire to lead it off for the Expos. McGuire batting number 8 in the order tonight. So we'll see the pitcher, Carl Pavano, next. And then FP Santangelo. McGuire getting a start with the rookie having a good year, Brad Fulmer. He will sit down tonight against Andy Pettit, a left-hander, and Felipe starts another left-handed batter in his place, Ryan McGuire.
Well, that's exactly right, but also Ryan McGuire has fared a little bit better against left-handed pitching. He is 5 for 15, hitting .333. And then you think, as we mentioned earlier about Andy Pettit being one of the best left-handers in the game, and certainly his record has indicated that, and has just is in his 4th year. So you have to say, well, maybe it's best that Brad Fulmer sits this one out.
I think there is certainly going to come a time, perhaps not too far down the road, that Fulmer will play every day against everybody and every kind of pitching, left and right. 2-1 to McGuire, fouled off to the right side.
There's one guy playing for the Yankees that was platooned at one time with Cincinnati, and he's out in right field, Paul O'Neill. And once he showed the Yankees and the managers that he's played for and proved that he could hit left-handed pitching, well, he's in there every day.
2-2 pitch to McGuire from Pettit, and McGuire tried to check his swing, went around, and has gone down on strikes. 4 strikeouts for Andy Pettit.
Very tough to hold up against a pretty intimidating factor out there on the mound in Andy Pettit, and that good hard slider was too much for McGuire to hold up. And keep in mind, Andy Pettit stands 6'5" and goes 225.
Pavano up against him. First ball hitting. Knocks it to Knobloch. 2 down. Expos will spend this weekend in Atlanta taking on the Braves. They fly down there after the ball game tonight. But when the Expos come back to Olympic Stadium next week, they'll be taking on the New York Mets in a 3-game series on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So from the Yankees this week to the Mets next week. And tickets for the Mets series are on sale. You can dial 1-800-GO-EXPOS if you live outside of the Montreal area. FP Santangelo struck out his first time up, batting .228. Fouled off. Earlier this week, the Expos played the annual exhibition game in Ottawa against their AAA club, the Lynx. Suffered their annual loss to the Lynx. But FP had a big night because his Lynx number was retired in pregame ceremonies.
Yes, and his uniform is up there on top of the locker in the locker room here at Olympic Stadium, number 24. And it was a nice presentation, and FP said he was very touched by it.
2 strikes on FP Santangelo. Pop foul, that'll be out of play.
I don't care where you get your number retired. It's very special to be a part of something like that. Now knowing that whoever comes through Ottawa will never wear the number 24 again. It's the same feeling that I have fortunately, of having my number retired here with the Montreal Expos.
Pitch low and inside. 1 ball, 2 strikes, and right there it is. Alongside the other Expos stars that have had their numbers retired here. 1 ball, 2 strikes to FP. Inning number 3, no score. And the plate umpire said he went around. Oh, a strikeout for Andy Pettit, and he has struck out 5 batters, and we have no score after 3 innings. Called out on strikes in the first inning will be the batter, then Soho and O'Neill. A called strike on Knobloch. Josh McKinley was the Expos #1 draft choice in the recently completed June draft of the amateur talent. Played his high school ball at Malvern Prep just outside of Philadelphia. He's from Downingtown, Pennsylvania, just a little bit west of Philadelphia. And Josh and his family having a chance to come up and visit Montreal. He was introduced to the team in Philadelphia, but nothing like coming to the big league city, Josh, and seeing the Expos here against the Yankees. So your timing is good.
Yeah, definitely a great series to come up and catch.
Congratulations on your selection, and I remember you telling us in Philadelphia how you were #1 elated, absolutely elated, pleased to go in the first round, happy to be a part of this organization.
Right, definitely. I mean, first of all, being selected in the first round was just a dream come true to me, and also being selected by an organization such as the Expos. I mean, they're notorious for
know that you were asked whether or not you wanted to pass up the draft, pass up signing, go on to college, and maybe play later. But you said you were anxious to get on with your baseball career right now.
Definitely. I mean, if I was going to go to college, I was going to go to hopefully become a better baseball player down there and improve my draft status, you know, coming out of college. And you know, being able to sign now, it's going to make my hopeful arrival to the major leagues even sooner.
Well, I've heard nothing but great things about you, but also I know how important it is for the development of a young man. I did the same thing, signing right out of high school, and I think that it's very important to establish yourself early and learn by the coaches and managers that will work with you, and to try and make you a better player.
Right, definitely. I'm leaving on Sunday to go to the Gulf Coast League, and this is just, I mean, a huge season for me. It's going to be my first professional year. I mean, hopefully I'll improve, you know, learn how to hit with the wooden bat better, you know, play against the good pitching and everything. So this is a huge year for me just to develop.
Well, that's a good question. You were taking some batting practice we saw earlier. You also said you had a few jitters in Philadelphia, but what is it like, the difference of using the wood bat to the aluminum bat?
Well, I would say the main difference is if you don't hit it right on the sweet spot with a wood bat, it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, you can muscle some balls out with an aluminum bat, but when you're using a wooden bat, you got to hit it right on the sweet spot, or you're not getting anything on it.
Josh, you've been a shortstop. I know that there's also been talk that you might wind up eventually at third base, and you said at the time you wouldn't have a problem with that, but you do like the position shortstop. You're going to get an opportunity to play there for a while.
Right, I'm going to play shortstop as long as I can, and until I prove I can't play shortstop anymore, you know, that's where I see myself playing. But if the organization feels that I'd be a better third baseman or even second baseman, then, you know, that's where I'll end up, and that's where I'll play the best I can.
Josh, have you patterned yourself after a specific player?
I wouldn't say I patterned myself. I mean, my favorite player would probably be Alex Rodriguez, just because he's such a good player on and off the field. And I try and, you know, be the same way, you know, a good player as well as a good person. But I mean, the way I play, I sort of much, you know, I'm just trying to be a solid player. I don't really try and do anything overly special to compare myself to anyone.
Well, Josh, thank you very much for the visit. We hope you and your family enjoy your brief stay in Montreal. We'll track your progress closely. Good luck in the Gulf Coast League.
Thank you.
Good luck, partner.
Expos #1 draft, Josh McKinley. Expos and the Yankees are scoreless in the fourth. Well, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Eastern, the Expos and the Braves from Turner Field in Atlanta. Right in the center of your screen there, Javier Vasquez, seated between Mark Valdez on our right and Duran Stovall, who just stood up and stepped away. Vasquez will be tangling with Greg Maddux and the Braves tomorrow night, and you'll see the game here on TSN. So there's a lot of packing to do after the game.
I'll tell you what, and we're going to get in late to Atlanta too, and Javier's still staying here. I hope he's going to be fresh for tomorrow.
Robert Perez to lead off the bottom of the fourth for the Expos. No score. Yankees have a hit. The Expos have a hit. Vladimir Guerrero has the Expos hit. Luis Sojo the Yankee hit. Andy Pettit working to Perez, and a ball and a strike.
You know, there is a time when teams will send a pitcher ahead so he gets his proper rest at night. But in this case, we get in and he can sleep most of the day, and he is a young kid, so he'll recover rather quickly.
2 balls and 1 strike.
Usually they do that with veterans, you see.
Yes.
And also it's an additional expense for the ball club and stuff, and that's understandable, but I don't think Javier is complaining.
Particularly if you have a situation like a day game after a night game.
Oh, exactly. Remember, that's what the Braves did when they played the final game in Atlanta and then went to Chicago and played a day game the next day.
Perez down on strikes. So here at the top of the order, 4 of the 6 Andy Pettit strikeouts. Santangelo twice, Perez twice.
And almost the same pitch once again on Robert Perez. A breaking ball down and in ahead of the pitch, and he goes down swinging.
Guerrero with a hit into right center in the first inning that broke his bat, so he's got some new lumber up here. Foul ball back out of play.
You know, I asked Carl before the game if he had been a little bit overwhelmed in his 4 starts, 2 of them against Curt Schilling, the other against Dennis Martinez, and here is 4th against Andy Pettit.
There's a play for Sojo. 2 down.
His comment was that against better teams, you seem to stay a little bit more psyched up. That's not saying for the most part that he would be anyway, but being that he is a young man who is getting his feet wet in the major leagues, he certainly has had his competition, and he has risen to the occasion on each one of his starts.
Rondell White, the batter. 1 strike to White. In last night's game, Rondell White hit a home run off Hideki Irabu. Became the first right-handed batter this season to hit a home run against Irabu.
And it was a bomb too, because the previous pitch he hit a foul ball that went completely out of the stadium, and the very next pitch hit it over the bleachers in left center field.
Here's Rondell's blast last night against Irabu.
Irabu knew it, and so did Rock. Look at where it ends up.
Pettit missing inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Pettit will be 26 this coming Monday. Now in his 4th year. Little dribbler foul behind third base.
I wonder what kind of numbers he's got to look forward to when it comes to contract time, being as successful as he has been in his first 3 seasons, and once again having a stellar 4th year at 7-5. But when you look at that Yankees record overall, you're right, Dave. 5 of the 13 losses have come at the hands of Andy Pettit.
That's it for the Expos against Andy Pettit and the Yankees. We're scoreless at the end of 4. No score here at the end of 4. A battle between Pavano and Pettit, Gary.
Boy, Carl Pavano was certainly on in the 2nd inning. The first batter he faces is Tino Martinez. Boom, fastball inside. for his second strikeout of the game. Then Strawberry up around the letters, in again, and then a high fastball off of Chad Curtis. That was in the second inning. Struck out the side. Carl Pavano has 5 strikeouts to this point. Andy Pettitte has matched him with 7, and that ties a high for Andy Pettitte this year. He's had 7 strikeouts in 2 other games, and we're only in the 5th inning.
The 5th inning. Tino Martinez was called out on strikes in the second. Foul ball to the screen behind the plate.
Talk about a pace last year. This man we talked about earlier, 44 home runs on the season, 141 RBIs. I don't think he's quite on that same pace this year with 9 home runs and 46 RBIs, but he has certainly made people forget a little bit about Don Mattingly, who was a pretty good first baseman for a number of years.
2 balls and a strike, the count on Tino Martinez, who has driven in over 100 runs in each of the last 3 seasons. A play for Gresselanek, who was perfectly positioned for Martinez, and the ball right off McGuire's glove at first base. An error on the first baseman opens the door for the Yankees.
Boy, what a tough error there, because the throw was a little bit high. Gresselanek was playing Martinez perfectly, but I just think that McGuire just kind of took his eye off the ball, and it kind of took off on him. So the error is going to be charged to Ryan McGuire.
Darryl Strawberry, the batter, went down on strikes in the second. First error of the game. Strawberry, along with Martinez and Curtis, all went down swinging in the 5th. Now they've got a chance to do something about the scoreless tie, with the door having been opened by that error.
Well, Carl Pavano had thrown 56 pitches through 4 innings, and his last start was on June the 2nd. He has had enough rest. There was no reason why it's been 9 days since his start. He did throw 1 inning at Ottawa, but he should be extra strong.
Well, some off days figured in there too. And
exactly.
He was just a victim of the schedule. 3-0 the count on Strawberry. A walk to Strawberry. Yankees are at first and second with nobody out. This telecast is presented by authority of the Montreal Expos Baseball Club and may not be reproduced or retransmitted without the consent of the Montreal Expos.
You know, Dave, it's amazing how some things can change the complexion of a ball game. Carl Pavano had retired 10 in a row until the error by Ryan McGuire that kind of has set this stage. We'll see what Chad Curtis is up to now, maybe to try and sacrifice it. No, he looked like he was swinging. It's kind of interesting because Joe Torre has a different philosophy. When you got a ball club that's hit 300 for the season as a team, you can, I guess, have the luxury of doing that. They're 5-0 in interleague games, and with that 46-13 record, looks like Curtis is up there swinging away.
Curtis takes a strike, 1 ball and 1 strike. Curtis does not have a sacrifice bunt. Struck out his first time up. Brocious is on deck. Strawberry leading away at first. Martinez at second. Ball is popped up, and that should be out of play to the seats behind first. There's the third base coach, Willie Randolph.
And you saw what he was doing right there with pointing the 2 hands to watch out for the line drive. If there is one hit on the infield, make sure you can get back. Willie Randolph, a fine second baseman for a number of years, Pittsburgh and then for the Yankees.
There's a line drive base hit to center field. Martinez will be held, and the bases are full with nobody out. Let's check in with Rod Smith at Baseball Tonight.
And Dave, New York's other team trailing the Marlins at Pro Players Stadium. Mets fall behind by 3 in this bottom of the second. Mark Kotze off Bobby Jones drives in Edgar Renteria. Scored 2 runs tonight and driven in the other. 3-0 now in the bottom of the 4th.
At Met Club, 7 games behind the Braves in the National League East. Fighting every day for the New York headlines with the Yankees.
Tough to do to keep up with these guys, as great of a season that they've had to this point.
Brocious the batter with the bases full. Nobody out. Ball 1. Brocious, who's hitting .327. 7 years with the A's, now over to the Yankees.
Look at what he's done with the bases loaded in his career. He does have 1 grand slam. He had a couple of home runs here the other night at Olympic Stadium off of Carlos Perez. Has 5 for the season.
1-0 pitch. Ground ball through the left side, past Andrews and out into left field. Martinez scores. Strawberry's been waved. The throw is cut. He'll score, and the Yankees take a 2-0 lead.
All of this kind of set up by the leadoff error committed by Ryan McGuire. Loading the bases after the walk to Strawberry, the base hit by Chad Curtis, and that ball finds its way to the left side. Robert Perez had a little bit of a tough time getting the handle of the ball. 2 runs have scored. Yankees lead it 2-0. The 40th and 41st RBIs of the year for Scott Brocious.
Let me ask you this. Are you a little surprised that no one has gone out to see Carl Pavano in this inning?
Very much so.
The pitch to Girardi with the runners going. Throw to third. Safe at third. Double steal.
And that's exactly the point, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's where either the catcher or maybe Felipe Alou would send Bobby Cuellar out there. That was the one look back at second base. Joe Torre taking advantage of the youngster, and look at what happens. Double steal sets up 2 more possible runs right here.
I think with the error and then the walk, as soon as he walked Strawberry, that would have been the first opportunity to go out and talk to him. Ball is poked into shallow right field. It'll drop in. It'll score 2. Curtis is home. Brocious on his heels, and he will slide across the plate as the throw gets away from the catcher. Pavano backed up the play, and the Yankees are safe at second. Girardi with a bloop knocks in a couple, and then he takes second on the throw. But I think they're going to charge an error.
I believe you're right, Dave. The ball in on Girardi. He was just trying to get the ball out into the outfield some way, but Randolph yelling at Chad Curtis, go, 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 and then here comes Scott Brocious, who was right on his heels. The throw by Guerrero is there, but Widger drops it. Gets by him. Pavano backing up, tried to get Girardi at second, but to no avail. Now Pettit to try and sacrifice Girardi over to third.
Still nobody out, and still nobody has gone to visit Carl Pavano.
I don't understand that, Dave. I really don't. I mean, this is the time when you need to go out there. The Yankees, being the successful team that they have been all year, have capitalized on the mistake that was made at the top of this inning, and now have capitalized on this youngster, Carl Pavano.
Pettit trying to bunt the ball, fouled it off, a ball and a strike. Pettit with his first at bat coming in the 3rd inning, and he struck out. Last year when these teams met at Yankee Stadium, the DH rule was in effect, being the series was played in the American League ballpark, so Pettit didn't bat.
Mark Valdez begins to loosen up in the Expos pen.
Ball is bunted third base side. Andrews. And that throw almost into the runner. And fortunately, Santangelo was able to reach in there and come up with that throw.
Andy Pettit lays down a perfect bunt. Now Shane Andrews has been bothered by an inflamed right shoulder and doesn't get a lot on this ball. Watch him come up with it, set himself, try to make sure, and the throw was a little bit off. But I've seen Shane Andrews have a stronger arm at times. I know that that shoulder has been bothering him. But you see Andy Pettit, he tried to shy away from the possible collision there, and it might have cost him.
Infield is in. Knobloch up, and a Yankee at third. They lead 4-0. Ball one.
See, Dave, good teams capitalize on mistakes, and in this case, especially in this inning, when the leadoff batter Tino Martinez got on via the air and then the walk to Strawberry, that set up the stage here, and then before you know it, boom boom, you're 4 runs down.
A play for Andrews. He holds the runner, throws to first to get Knobloch. 2 down. Luis Sojo will be the batter.
Well, the Expos can't afford to give up any more runs. That's the reason for the infield playing in. Pavano with a good breaking ball there to hopefully save that last run of crossing the plate. But he's down by 4, and he's going to try and get out of this inning with just allowing those 4.
Sojo, the 8th batter of the inning, and a called strike. Four runs on 3 hits, but the inning set up by the error, allowing Tino Martinez to reach base, and the walk to Darryl Strawberry. Ball and a strike to Sojo. Off the end of the bat, in the air to center. Rondell White is there. He's got it. The Yankees get 4 in the 5th and have a 4-0 lead. This is Labatt 50, Expos baseball. The Yankees just scored 4 times in the 5th inning. Carl Pavano on into the dugout, and pitching coach Bobby Cuellar pays a visit. Player of the game for the Expos after this ball game be on behalf of CSA. You call it torture. At CSA, it's called product testing. CSA helping to make products safer for you and your family. Dustin Hermanson coming over to sit down and talk to Carl Pavano.
Well, once again, when you're a rookie pitcher, you're going to try to get all the advice that you possibly can and then learn from some of the other pitchers. In a case like that, obviously, he is learning, and Dustin Hermanson, who threw in the game last night, or excuse me, the first night, this is one of the things that, not the first night, it was last night, Carlos Perez threw the first night, and that's what you have to do. You talk around to your teammates and you find out, hey, how can I stop the bleeding here?
Widger struck out his first time up, batting .244. Pettit down with a 4-0 lead, has allowed just 1 hit and 1 base runner. Vladimir Guerrero in the first inning. 3-0 on Widger. A strike called. This is where they were when Widger was hitting leading off the second. 3-1, and Widger chased what would have been ball 4. It's this ball down to the bullpen area.
And there was Anthony Telford to back up Mark Valdez. And Valdez said to Anthony, thank you very much for saving me on that particular line drive off the bat of Chris Widger.
Payoff pitch to Widger. Fouled off.
When you mentioned about Chris Widger swinging at the 3-1 pitch, Dave, that once again might be the inexperience. When you are up against a younger ball club, which is what the Expos have, and in regard to the difference with the Yankee ball club, which is more of a veteran ball club, they're going to be maybe a little bit more patient.
Broken bat roller. The shortstop Sojo has it. 1 down in the 5th. Let's take a look at the Yankee start and some teams that have come out of the blocks quickly after 59 games. This year's Yankees at 46-13. Everybody remembers the '84 Tigers.
Hey, how about those '86 Mets? Not a bad record there either. Pretty close to being what the Yankees have accomplished here.
Who played on that club?
Darryl Strawberry and Keith Hernandez, to name a couple. How about David Cohn also? David Cohn, Dwight Gooden, Ron Darling, Sid Fernandez, Mookie Wilson, Kevin Mitchell.
Base hit through the left side for Gresolonic. Hit number 2 for the Expos. A lot of marquee names.
Yeah.
So we could throw in Gary Carter, the catcher.
Oh, that guy. Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a special year, Dave. No question about it.
Ray Knight.
Ray Knight, yeah. Wally Backman. How about Rafael Santana, the unsung hero that year that played a tremendous shortstop.
Second hit for the Expos. Shane Andrews, a batter. Hit a comebacker to Pettit in the second. The Yankee infield looking for a double play ball. There's the stop by Knobloch. Soho gets the job done. The Expos are through in the 5th. Yankees lead 4-0. The Yankees have a 4-0 lead, and they come to bat in the 6th inning against a new Expos pitcher. Pavano lifted after 5, and Mark Valdez, who was in the bullpen, is in the game.
Well, just comes back off the disabled list with Trey Moore going back on, and Mark Valdez, you see his record on the season, 8.60 ERA. I know he'd like to improve upon that. And the stirring figure that I see there is the 19 base on balls in 30 1/3 innings of work. He also has allowed those 36 hits. And there's Carl Pavano, who works just 5 innings. And as we mentioned in that last inning, a couple of little mistakes, 1 error, a walk, and then before you know it, 4 runs, you're down, and he's out of the ball game. Talking with Dustin Hermanson about maybe a future contest that he'll be in.
Paul O'Neill, the batter. O'Neill hitting .332. Into the game at third base for the Expos, Mike Mordecai. Mordecai goes into the 9th spot in the batting order, and Valdez slips into the 7th spot where Andrews was hitting. 1 ball, 1 strike to O'Neill. O'Neill has lined into a double play and bounced out. Came into the game tonight with a 17-game hitting streak.
He has just really become a very pure hitter. He also attributes some of the success with that high leg kick, and it's not real high. I wouldn't say it's a Saturday O style, but when he went to the Yankees, one of the hitting instructors worked with him to get that leg kick in order, and it really has helped on his timing.
Over the inside corner, O'Neill is called out. I don't think he thought that pitch was a strike. Let's take a look at the pitching line on Expos starter Carl Pavano, who breezed through 4.
And that's the rest of the numbers. 3 earned runs, the 1 base on ball, and 5 strikeouts. And at the top of that 5th inning, we showed you the strikeouts that he had in the 2nd inning, where he mowed down Martinez, Strawberry, and Curtis. That's what started it off and got him out of this game in the 5th.
One strike on Tino Martinez. And Martinez unloads and hits a shot into the bleachers in right. A home run for Tino Martinez, his 10th of the season, his 47th run batted in, and it's 5-0 Yankees.
The thing about this ball club, too, the New York Yankees, they don't stop right there on the 4 runs, and that's an indication right there with Tino Martinez. Gets a pitch out over the plate, was sitting on it, just turned on it. That's why he's been so successful also at Yankee Stadium. This short porch there, only 314 feet down the line, but he just pulls that one, and that got out of here in a hurry.
Martinez with his second home run in this series, his second in as many nights. Darryl Strawberry, the batter, struck out in the second, walked and scored in the last inning. 1 ball, 1 strike to Strawberry.
Well, the Yankees have certainly enjoyed interleague play to this point. 5-0 coming into tonight's play, and they're well on their way to winning their 6th in a row interleague game.
Base hit to right for Strawberry. Second hit allowed by Mark Valdez. Well, you know, if you have this team healthy and Bernie Williams is in there, Gary, along with Paul O'Neill and Tino Martinez, I mean, you have got a middle part of the order that might make people think back to the great 27 Yankees.
I don't know, but look at those numbers by Ruth, Gehrig, and Lazzeri. I mean, 164 RBIs with those 60 home runs.
Yeah,
and
second on the club.
Yeah. Okay. And then Lou Gehrig's numbers, 175 RBIs. That's phenomenal. It just is. Hack Wilson, of course, has the all-time most RBIs in one season with 190. That just seems like an unbelievable figure to ever reach. But how about Mark McGwire, the pace that he's on right now? 30 home runs, over 70 RBIs. He might be one that comes close to those numbers.
30 home runs and 76 RBIs going into the game today, and for a lot of players that's good enough to win everything in arbitration or get you a huge free agent contract for a season.
Exactly. Well, Mark McGwire also, Dave, is one of a few that have reached the 30 home run mark before the All-Star break. Now, the one that was on the pace to try and break Roger Maris's 61 home runs, and that's where all the talk about is with Mark McGwire. Reggie Jackson had 37 home runs at the All-Star break in 1969.
Chad Curtis fouls it off. 1-2. By the way, McGwire and the Cardinals have a night off, as do a lot of clubs. There's just one game scheduled in the American League, Seattle at Oakland. And in addition to this game, the Mets are playing at Florida and later on Anaheim at Arizona. That's it in Major League Baseball tonight.
So a lot of good things happening in baseball. McGwire going after the home run record, and keep your eyes closely watched to Ken Griffey Jr. as well. And here are the Yankees trying to have the all-time best win record.
Threw the bat at the ball and popped it up. First baseman Ryan McGwire in foul territory, and they were able to runner got back. Valdez came off the bag at first base. I don't know why. Throw, or did he just come off the bag?
No, McGwire was a little slow in releasing the ball, Dave, but Strawberry, he didn't make a real valiant effort to get back. Watch him here and see Valdez is yelling at him, and he just kind of flips it to him, but Valdez comes off the bag, cheated way too much, and first base umpire C.B. Bucknor said no, came off the bag. And he made the right call.
That's a mental mistake, isn't it? By
yes, it is.
McGwire.
There you just saw briefly the umpires in tonight's game. Home plate umpire Jerry Davis. C.B. Bucknor is at first base. Jerry Meals at second, and Terry Tata over at third base, and he's the senior of this crew, right?
He's the crew chief. 1 ball and no strikes to Scott Brosius. Now the Expos should be out of this. Just looking to see where we're going to find Big Mac Mark McGwire tomorrow night. We're going to find him at Bank One Ballpark in Arizona.
Ooh, maybe he'll hit one in the pool. We get to go out there this year.
Yes.
We get to see that part.
Most of the clubs have been opening their doors at the stadiums early for batting practice so that fans can come in and see the visiting team hit when McGwire's on the road.
Hey, he puts on a show. There's no question.
A strike to Brosius.
Now, during the season already, he's hit some mammoth home runs. He has the longest home run ever hit at Busch Memorial Stadium in St. Louis. But Dave, when you watch him in batting practice, I mean, you're just awestruck to see how far he hits some of those home runs.
And it underscores how strong he is because he's hitting them against batting practice pitchers who aren't exactly getting it up there at 90 miles an hour.
Exactly.
3-1 pitch. Hit in the air, shallow right. McGuire back under the pop-up. A home run by Tino Martinez. The Yankees lead 5-0. Ryan McGuire batting .253. First time up, he struck out facing Andy Pettitte. Pettitte's had pretty much everything going his way. Only problem he had during the first 4 innings was the fact that there was nothing but zeros up on the board on either side. And the Yankees put a 4 spot up there for him in the 5th. Tino Martinez with a home run, added a run in the 6th, and now he's got 5. There's a hard line drive chasing the right fielder back. O'Neill's got it.
But getting back to the success of this ball club, this is where pitchers that know how to win start to bow their net. And then you get another guy like a Tino Martinez that adds another run on the board by hitting his 10th home run of the year. And this ball club, they're just cruising right along. And it seems as though Andy Pettitte very much in control.
Mike Mordecai came in as part of the double switch. Mordecai came into this game when Mark Valdez took over on the mound. Mordecai playing at third base, hitting just 109, half a dozen hits in 55 at bats. Mordecai rolls that ball all the way out into left center to the left of the bag at second, and he's aboard with the 3rd Expos hit.
A good opportunity for Mordecai to try and improve upon his batting average. He got a hit in last night's ball game and a pitch down, and he goes right after it, lines it up through the middle for the Expos' 3rd hit of this ball game.
And Mordecai's had a hit in 3 straight games now, trying to do something about that low batting average. F.P. Santangelo has struck out twice tonight. Looks to bunt here, trying to get something going for the Expos. They need base runners.
Well, you just try to get on base any way you can. FP is one of those scrappers. He was telling me before the game, he says, you watch, my uniform's going to be filthy. Well, so far he's struck out twice and hasn't had much of an opportunity to get dirty. There's that pickoff move by Andy Pettitte. He's got a very good one. In 3 years, he has picked off 37, which is tops in the majors. And Jeff Facero's second with 23 pickoff move.
1-0 pitch, low and outside. Now Girardi wants to go right out and talk to Andy Pettitte. A 1-out single by Mordecai, and then he got behind 2-0, and Girardi's right out there.
And you see, that's the veteran catcher that Girardi is. He's a good handler of pitchers, and he knows when to go out there and to settle his pitcher down. There you see what Andy Pettitte has done on the night so far. Thrown 42 strikes, 65 pitches overall.
2-0 on Santangelo. Now 3-0. Pettitte, who so far in this game has only faced 1 over regulation. A strike. 3-1.
Well, Andy Pettitte on the season here in '98 does have 2 complete games. His last outing against the Marlins, he went 9 innings. Ooh. I don't know about that one, Dave. That looked pretty close to being inside. But Jerry Davis thought otherwise, and FP has to look at another one. Well, it looked like it had plate, though. Now when you see the replay, it sure did look more like a strike than a ball.
Payoff pitch. And there's ball 4. So the Expos have 2 on for the first time in the game. It's the first walk given up by Andy Pettitte. Sunday night. TSN Sunday Night Baseball. Baltimore and Toronto. 8 o'clock Eastern. And guess who's going back to Skydome? Joe Carter.
Little brother.
Yeah.
Little brother. Yeah. No. He's a good friend, though. Joe
Orioles
Carter.
and the Jays. Jays are a game ahead of the Orioles in the standings.
That blows me away.
Robert Perez fouling a ball off. Orioles have to be one of the big disappointments in baseball this year. There are several, but they have to be certainly one of the big disappointments.
Well, they've at least improved upon their overall record. At one time, they were several games below the 500 level. They are 3 games below it right now, but they're 18 games out going into today's play against the Yankees.
Perez fouling one off. There's a look at how things stack up in the division. It's the Yankees and then the other people.
Yep, and that's what it is. An 11-game lead they have going into tonight's play. And look at where Baltimore stands. And last year they ran away with it, basically.
Perez grounding a ball to Brosius to not block and on to first, and a good play all around. And around the horn, double play. Yankees lead 5-0.
May I take your order, please?
4 junior bacon cheeseburgers, 4 biggie fries, 4 biggie drinks, and 4 small frosties.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
With Wendy's Super Value Menu, you get delicious choices like a hot and juicy junior bacon cheeseburger with 2 strips of bacon or a small Frosty. And Wendy's Biggie Fries and Biggie Drinks are some of the biggest you can get for $1.39.
Here you go.
So be careful.
I was afraid of that.
Wendy's Super Value Menu. Delicious choices, just 99 cents or $1.39 every day.
After next week's series with the Expos and the Mets, the Atlanta Braves will be spending a weekend at Olympic Stadium on the 19th, 20th, and 21st. So Andres Galarraga and the rest of the Braves coming to Olympic Stadium. Tickets available. Dial 8-GO-EXPOS or the out-of-town number 1-800-GO-EXPOS. Expos and the Braves going at it in a 3-game series. Friday, Saturday night games and a Sunday afternoon game the 21st. Joe Girardi, number 8 in the batting order, 1 out of 2 tonight. Knocked in a couple of runs in that 4-run fifth with a single into right field. We saw Girardi break in the National League at Chicago. He played briefly with the Rockies.
He's a very good receiver, though, Dave. They're not concerned. That's one of the reasons why he's batting in that number 8 spot, about what he hits or how many RBIs he has. Has just 14 now on the year. But Jorge Posada is one that they look forward to having behind the plate for their future. He's got a good swing, and he's also a switch hitter.
Girardi goes down on strikes. Valdez in his 2nd inning. That's his 2nd strikeout.
I think Girardi was pretty much overmatched here. I think the moving fastball tied him up big time. Kind of looked like an ugly swing. So credit Mark Valdez with his 2nd strikeout. And now he'll go to work on Andy Pettitte.
Yankees with 5 runs on 6 hits. The Expos no runs, 3 hits.
You know, getting back to talking about the great teams and their records, obviously the Yankees trying to get to and establish that all-time mark. We talked earlier about what kind of pace that they're on. But I remember in '86 there was one series in particular that Davey Johnson mentioned, and it was early on in the season. He says you win a 4-game series or play well against these St. Louis Cardinals and they'll just die.
Another strikeout for Valdez. 2 gone here in the 7th inning. Knobloch coming up,
and as a result of that series, we swept them. And from that point on, Dave, we had the confidence throughout the rest of the season. Now, we probably didn't put together a lot of winning streaks like the Yankees are presently on a 9-game win streak, trying to win 10 in a row here tonight. But we were a consistent team. There was not very many times during the course of the season that we lost 2, 3, 4 games in a row very many times. You know, we'd win 5 or 6, 7, and then lose 1, and then we'd do the same thing over and over. And when you get to 108 games, you know that you've victories, that is, you know you've had a successful season.
Called strike on Knobloch. 1-1 the count. But Gary, this Yankee club is a veteran club.
Yes.
It is a well-experienced team.
Right.
Yet the word is that this is Joe Torre's team. There is no doubt about it. He manages this club and he runs the show. He is he's very highly thought of by the fans in New York. He's one of them. He is a New Yorker. They absolutely love Joe Torre here. Here's a comebacker to the mound. So 3 up, 3 down, and nothing here for the New York Yankees, but they lead this game 5-0 in the 7th inning.
Another baseball tonight update in the Mets and Florida game, and the Marlins actually saw their 3-0 lead evaporate right here. The Mets scoring 2 in the 5th, and then Mike Piazza, his 10th home run with his dad cheering on. The ex-Marlin ties it up in South Florida. Back to Dave and Gary.
And the Expos coming up here in the bottom of the 7th inning. The fans just settling back down after the 7th inning stretch. And Vladimir Guerrero, who has a hit in 2 trips, will lead it off, the number 3 hitter. Guerrero, who has been a treat to watch. Strike 1 to Guerrero.
Well, the biggest
here, Gary, he's hitting .308, and we know that he has not yet really learned the strike zone. Still an undisciplined hitter.
Right.
My goodness, what do you think he might hit once he learns some self-discipline at the plate? Drive to center, Curtis back. He has had that ball go over his head, and Guerrero with a double. How about that? Curtis thought he was going to catch the ball. He had no idea that that line drive was going to carry the way it did.
I think he underestimated how hard hit that ball really was. And just to follow up on what you were saying about learning the strike zone and all, the biggest key for Vladimir Guerrero this year, Dave, has been that he's been able to stay healthy. But he just smokes this ball. Curtis goes back like he's camped under it, and then wow, one bounce off the wall. The stand-up double for Guerrero, his 12th on the year.
Hit number 4 for the Expos. Strike 1 to Rondell White.
With a chance of Mark Valdez coming up this inning, he's due up 5th this inning. Steve Klein begins to loosen up in the Expos pen.
Oh, 0-2 the count on White.
Here's one of those cases that you've got a runner at second with nobody out, but you got your cleanup hitter. You're down by 5 runs, and you don't want to just give yourself up and have him try to get the runner over to third base.
Rondell swings, lifts the ball to right center. Curtis diving, knocked it down, but can't come up with it. Guerrero will be held at third base. The ball is off the glove of Knobloch. Now Guerrero sprints toward the plate and slides in safely. Little indecision, but he finally took off and scored the run when that ball just kept trickling further and further away from the playing field.
Well, Rondell White ends up doing his job by lining one into right center. Chad Curtis had a little bit of a late break, but was not able to come up with it. Then what happened was that Pete Buchanan held up Vladimir Guerrero when he initially was waving him on. But Curtis then gathers himself, comes up, fires it in, and look what happens here. Ball gets by Chuck Knobloch and rolls, and on this AstroTurf, Tino Martinez was not able to get to it that quickly, and there's Vladimir Guerrero scoring the first run for the Expos. And that will also bring on a trip from Joe Torre.
They're going to charge Knobloch, I believe, with the error. It's going to be a double for Rondell White. If it has been scored as a double. Now, Guerrero, who was already at second, was definitely held at third. There's no question about that. He scores on E4.
Right.
So that's a rare scoring situation where you have back-to-back doubles but no RBI.
Exactly. And that's only because when you're down by 5 runs, Pete Mackanin trying to be a little bit safe in holding Vladimir up, and it turns out that he ends up scoring on the air. And guess what? Andy Pettitte is out of this game, and that's kind of a surprise. Mike Stanton, he wasn't even loosening up in the pen, and yet I guess the long talk and whatever convincing words that Joe Torre had for Andy Pettitte, he's out of this ball game.
So with the left-hander Mike Stanton coming into the game, Pettitte finished, and they replaced the left-hander with a left-hander, and Widger due up.
I'm wondering though, Dave, if maybe you know, he's
maybe there's
something wrong there, because Stanton really, when we were talking about Steve Klein loosening up for the Expos, Mike Stanton was not down in the Yankees bullpen. So I'm wondering how many pitches he's had to loosen up with, and he only gets 8 here to come into this ball game. So we might have to get some sort of an update on Andy Pettitte, the reason he came out of this ball game. There you see the numbers on Mike Stanton on the year. 3-0. He's working in his 27th game. He does have 5 saves when Mariano Rivera was on the disabled list. The 3.86 ERA and the 30 1/3 innings of work. Now keep in mind, Mike Stanton at one time saved 27 games for the Atlanta Braves. He's known now more as a setup guy, but he'll come on now in a no-out situation in the 7th inning. The Yankees leading this one 5-1 and hoping to hold it for that man right there, Andy Pettitte, and hopes to pick up his 8th victory on the season.
Andy Pettitte heads on back to the Yankee clubhouse. And Mike Stanton is on to do the pitching. And Chris Widger will be the batter. Runner at second is Rondell White. Expos are on the board. They trail by 4. Nobody out here in the 7th inning. Let me get back to something that I brought up concerning Joe Torre.
Right.
And the fact that he's so well liked in New York, and the fact that everyone close to the Yankee club reminds us not to make any mistake that it is Torre's team, that he is doing a terrific job in managing this club with a veteran club. How tough is it for a manager now? You've been through it. That was a veteran club you were on with those 86 Mets.
Right.
And you were managed by Davey Johnson. And how much involved was the manager in the running of that club?
I don't think a whole lot. But when it came to decisions like he's done here and taking a guy out like Andy Pettitte, and he's going with Mike Stanton, that was his decision. It just seemed that way. Now Don Zimmer, who is his bench coach, he's managed in the big leagues. He was with Boston and the Chicago Cubs, and they won it in 1989 for Zim. But he has a good coaching staff. But Joe Torre, with a career managing record of 1,128 victories, 1,152 losses, but as a Yankee manager, 234 victories and just 149 losses. So you're absolutely right, Dave. He has really brought a lot of excitement to New York, and he's been able to handle this veteran ball club. But just to finish up on the situation in New York when I was with the Mets, is that we had older guys that if somebody didn't hustle or if somebody didn't play hard, it was us and it was our
veterans on the team would take over.
Would take over and go to
leadership.
Exactly.
Sure. We were looking at Joe Torre along with Don Zimmer and Mel Stottlemyre. The Yankees are the 3rd oldest team in Major League Baseball this year, behind the Orioles and the Giants. So this is a very experienced Yankee ball club. By the way, the Expos are the 3rd youngest club in the majors. So you have the 3rd oldest in terms of average age and the 3rd youngest club. The Marlins are the youngest, and then the Pirates, and then the Expos. There's Felipe Alou with his bench coach, Jim Tracy.
And what a tremendous job that Felipe Alou has done through the years. But Mike Stanton was given more pitches than normal, so
it's an injury situation.
It had to have been.
Something was bothering Pettit, and he came out because of an injury, and we'll get a report and let you know. So Stanton is now ready, and Widger will move in. 0 for 2 tonight facing Pettit. He struck out in the second, grounded out in the fifth. Now the Yankee bullpen has the Andy Pettit win in its hands.
Exactly.
Pettit trying to win his 8th of the season tonight. Ball 1 to Chris Widger.
Well, there's no question that the Yankees have a terrific bullpen when you've got a guy like Mike Stanton. You've got Graham Lloyd. You got Jeff Nelson, who worked in last night's ball game. Mariano Rivera. And then you've got another guy, El Duque Hernandez, who has come in. There's Jeff Nelson on the right, and there's Graham Lloyd on the left. A couple of intimidating guys out there on the mound. Jeff Nelson stands at 6'8". I think Graham Lloyd's at 6'7". But this Yankee pitching staff is a good one.
And they have a better record than the Knicks.
Oh, absolutely.
Speaking of guys that are 6'8" and 6'7".
Yes.
Right.
Here's El Duque, half-brother of Levon Hernandez of the Florida Marlins.
3-1 on Chris Widger. Widger trying to bust out of a slump. Just one hit in his last 20 at-bats. Draws the one. 2 on for Mark Gressolano. I think one of the things that Mark has learned, and sometimes you don't learn it until you experience it yourself if you're a professional athlete.
Right.
And that is, if you complain publicly about your lot in life and the money you earn.
Right.
It doesn't sit too well with the fans.
It really doesn't, Dave, and I think that's exactly what has happened in Mark Grudzielanik's case. I don't know if a change of scenery will do him any difference, but for the most part, he's disgruntled over the fact of what the Expos have done in the past years, and it's just really a cost-saving move that has transpired here.
It's the system.
It is
the way the system works.
And you have to accept that. Everybody out there on that field would like to win, and I think in general, everybody that plays in the major leagues wants to play on a competitor or a winner. And I played 18 full seasons in the major leagues and had the pleasure of going to the World Series and becoming champions once. That was it.
That pitch is low to Gresolanik. Now 2 balls and 1 strike. The pitcher is due up next, and Felipe Alou has sent Jose Vidro out to the on-deck circle.
I'm wondering if maybe Mike Stanton, with this hurry up to get loose and come into this game situation, has maybe thrown him off.
3-1 to Gresolanik, and Girardi takes the mask off, walks slowly out in front of the plate, and Mel Stottlemyre, the pitching coach, is going to visit Mike Stanton.
And we talked about Jeff Nelson. He'll start to go mosey down to the Yankees bullpen, and Mel Stottlemyre will take his time and talk to Mike Stanton. Now, if you look at Stanton's numbers, he had only walked 7 previous to this appearance tonight. He's in his 27th game, and in 30 1/3 innings of work has 29 strikeouts. So really his control has been pretty good, but right now he's very erratic.
I think that the point you raised about him having to rush to get ready was on Mel Stottlemyre's mind, because the first thing that Mel asked Mike Stanton when he got to the mound was, "Are you all right?"
Yes.
And Stanton said yes, and Mel said something to him about he knew he had to rush to warm up, and so he wanted to make sure that he was okay and ready to pitch. 3-1. Base hit to left field. The bases are loaded on a single to left. One run in, and the bases are full, and nobody out.
This is a case where Mark Grudzielanek takes advantage of the control of Stanton after Mel Stottlemyre's visit. First pitch hitting, fastball right down the middle, and he lines it to left field for Grudzielanek's second hit on the night. Now Graham Lloyd will also join Jeff Nelson down in the Yankees bullpen. 5-1 is our score here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Nobody out, as you just mentioned, Dave, and the Expos threatening here with Jose Vidro hitting for Mark Valdez.
Ball 1 to Vidro, switch hitter. The .222 batting average doesn't tell the whole story about Vidro because he has just started to get hot with the bat. He had a terrible start to the season offensively, but now has hit safely in his last 7 games, going 13 for 31.
That was the case of Felipe Alou and the confidence that he's had in Jose Vidro. Even though he's been up and down a couple of times with Ottawa, he knows of the capabilities of this young man.
Vidro pops it up in left field. Not very deep. Strawberry is there. He's got it. Tagging is Rondell White. The throw will go to third. Rondell scores on a fly ball to medium left field.
In most cases, that would draw a throw, but Darryl Strawberry, getting up in years and not having the same kind of throwing arm that he once had when he first came into the major leagues. Jose Vidro gets the RBI. For Vidro, it is his 10th RBI on the season. But watch Rondell White. He kind of stutter steps there a little bit, but then keeps running on. And when you have a 5-1 lead, rather than risk a possible another error, Strawberry just threw this to third base.
Keep the runners at first and second with 1 out. Foul ball at the plate off the bat of Ryan McGuire, who's 0 for 2. In the last couple of innings, the 5th and 6th, when the Expos had something going, they hit into inning-ending double plays. Something that you know Felipe Alou would like to avoid. A ball and a strike to McGuire.
And in both of those cases, kind of bailed Pettit out of a couple of jams. Defensively, coming into this game, the Yankees were 4th in the league in club fielding percentage.
Two balls and a strike. Widger is the runner at second. Grudzielanek at first. McGuire the batter. And that's Girardi talking to Stanton.
See, I think that's the best thing to do as a catcher. If there's something on your mind and you might see a little something as a flaw or something in a pitcher's delivery or something like that, it's very important to just go ahead, get it off your chest, and get it done. Now there's a time has been called. Ball from the bullpen is rattling around now. It's almost in left center field, and Darryl Strawberry will retrieve it, throw it back toward the bullpen. But I'm a firm advocate. If there is something on someone's mind, especially from the catcher standpoint, hey, go out to the mound, get it over and done with.
2-1 pitch, and ball 3 to McGuire.
Still seems as though, Dave, that Stanton is struggling with his control. Girardi is trying to get him zoned back in and giving a good target right on the outside part of the plate. And there goes Stanton walking another one and loading them back up again for Mike Mordecai.
Widger to third, Grudzielanek to second, McGuire to first, Mordecai the batter. One of the problems that Felipe Alou faces, now he's already had Jose Vidro go up there, in this game is that he doesn't have a great deal of firepower to go to on that bench.
No, he really doesn't. Duran Stovall is the only other one that can be a switch hitter and hit from the right side. Joe Torre's not going to waste any more time. Obviously, Mike Stanton did not have enough time to really get loose, and he was very erratic, walking a couple and allowing the base hit to Grudzielanek, the sac fly to Jose Vidro. He's out of this game, and Jeff Nelson will try and come in and pick up the pieces.
And Nelson takes over for Stanton. Nelson, who is 6'8". So there's a man to look up to.
Whew, I'll say.
Mike Mordecai about 5'8". So this would be an interesting matchup.
Oh boy.
Expos with the bases loaded, really a hit or two away from being right back in this one, if not tying it up, certainly being right back in it.
Well, that's exactly right, and now's the time to try to capitalize. You see the numbers on Jeff Nelson, the 4.35 ERA, appearing in his 31st game of the year. He does have a couple of saves. Opposing hitters hitting over 300 against him. He's kind of a sidewinder. He's thrown 31 innings, allowed 39 hits, does have 24 strikeouts, but he can be intimidating out there on the mound, standing, as you said, Dave, at 6'8". But this guy, Jeff Nelson, has been a guy that has done a lot of work in the last few years, and you saw the reaction there of Mike Stanton, not pleased with his outing here tonight at Olympic Stadium.
Well, Nelson will not be pitching to Mike Mordecai. Felipe Alou is going to send a rookie, the Expos regular first baseman Brad Fulmer, up against the veteran Jeff Nelson with the bases full here in the 7th inning. So here is a case. We talked about this young Montreal club, third youngest club in baseball, and the manager going to a 23-year-old rookie to come up with a big hit in the late innings against the New York Yankees.
Well, I think that's really a good move. Brad Fulmer has only had one other pinch hit appearance, and he's 0 for 1. But here again, Brad Fulmer hitting .278 on the year and right up amongst the leaders in extra base hits. 27 doubles, a triple, and 4 home runs to go along with 27 RBIs. And Brad Fulmer up there to try and get the Expos right back in this one.
Nelson, who worked here last night after the rain delay, took over for Irabu and went 2 good innings. Ball 1 to Brad Fulmer. In last night's game, Fulmer did not face Nelson in the 2 innings that Nelson worked.
There you see what Brad has done with the bases loaded. Not too bad.
2 balls and no strikes.
Talked about Jeff Nelson being in a lot of ball games. Last year in '97 worked in 77 games. The year before that 73 games. So this guy kind of a workaholic for Joe Torre's Yankees.
Fulmer hits a shot down to the right field corner. That's in for extra bases. Widger has scored. Grudzielanek will score. McGuire to third base on a double by Brad Fulmer. His 28th double of the season. He leads the major leagues in 2 base hits.
And what a great time to be able to come through. Bases loaded, lining this one by the diving Tino Martinez, and down in the corner. Paul O'Neill does a good job of getting the ball back in quickly, but 2 Expos runners score and have cut the lead to just 1. And now Nelson will walk F.P. Santangelo. We just showed you the graphic there. Brad Fulmer now leading the majors overall with those 28 doubles. Larry Walker right in the race. And we know that Expos have been known to have 2 base hits. Mark Grudzielanek had 54 of them last year. But Brad Fulmer, in his first full year in an Expo uniform, has really risen to the occasion, and nothing is more gratifying as a rookie to come up in a situation like that, as you said, Dave, against the New York Yankees, the powerhouse that they are, and then line a pinch hit double down the right field line to also produce 2 runs. And as we had said, for Brad Fulmer, that gives him now 29 RBIs on the season.
That's a huge double for him coming off the bench. Brad Fulmer, just 23 years old, one of the 3 youngest everyday first basemen in the big leagues. And what a huge hit for Brad Fulmer. We'll have another pinch hitter, Scott Livingstone. So Livingstone will pinch hit. Felipe wanting to get a left-handed batter up there. And Robert Perez, right-handed, was due to hit.
Well, and then we'll see the changes that'll probably transpire. Livingstone will probably take over at third base, and then I would imagine Duran Stovall will go into the outfield, or you leave him on the bench and maybe put Jose Vidro at second base and move FP Santangelo out to left field. But Joe Torre is about to make another move, and you see him forcing the hand to Felipe Alou. I'm not so sure, Dave, that I would have left Mike Stanton in there to face Mike Mordecai instead of facing the rookie by bringing in Jeff Nelson and having Jeff Nelson face Brad Fulmer. But now Joe Torre going to the bullpen once again, and Graham Lloyd will come on to face the left-hand hitting Scott Livingstone. But I'm wondering if maybe there might even be another change that will transpire, and maybe Felipe Alou will force the hand once again. But Livingstone is up there and taking some practice swings from the right side. But there you see Graham Lloyd appearing in his 19th game, a very nifty 1.76 ERA. Opposing hitters hitting just 137 against him, but he's only worked 15 1/3 innings and has 8 strikeouts, usually used in situations to face maybe just one hitter at a time, and that being a left-hander. And he'll have that pleasure of facing Scott Livingstone.
Well, in this case, it would appear that Felipe will go with the experience of Scott Livingstone over the rookie Duran Stovall,
right,
who is a switch hitter and could go up and bat right-handed. But in the case of Livingstone, here is how much Felipe is counting on experience. Livingstone has only had 1 hit in 12 at-bats this year with runners in scoring position.
Yes, and that's a tough decision to make, but he's going with the experience, and also he doesn't want to deplete his bench entirely by then hitting with Stovall, because that would only leave you with Mike Hubbard,
the backup catcher.
Right.
So here's the 9th batter of the inning for the Expos. Yankees lead by 1. 1 out, bases full, and Livingstone to bat, hitting 163 overall. You saw the numbers: 8 hits, 49 at-bats, only 1 of those hits with men in scoring position. He looks at a strike from Graham Lloyd.
There's that graphic once again, and nothing would be more pleasing for Scott Livingstone than to come through right here.
Fouled away, strike 2.
Well, we mentioned about the height of Jeff Nelson at 6'7". Well, they list Graham Lloyd at 6'7" as well. So big guy on the mound, and for a left-handed hitter that can be extremely intimidating. Or no, Jeff Nelson's 6'8". So 6'8" Jeff Nelson, 6'7" Graham Lloyd, and there's the strikeout, which is what Graham Lloyd was looking for, and it looked like it was a pitch out of the strike zone. Here's another look at it, and here the 6'7" Lloyd goes upstairs, and Livingstone goes down swinging.
The Expos were counting on the experience of Livingstone, yet he chased a pitch like a rookie might chase.
That's exactly right. And once again, Joe Torre going to the pin. Graham Lloyd does his job, gets a very big out, and now he'll go to Darren Holmes, and Vladimir Guerrero will become the 10th hitter in this inning, where the Expos have produced 4 runs.
Expos are about to see the 5th Yankee pitcher that has thrown a pitch in this inning. Let's check in with Rod at Baseball Tonight.
And Dave, another update from the Marlins and Mets game. And New York, for the first time, has a lead in this ball game. Top of the 7th inning, Edgardo Alfonso with the base hit to score Brian McRae. But Bobby Jones, hey, he wanted to try third. Should have stayed on second. Todd Zeile with the tag to end the inning. 4-3 Mets, though.
Here is Holmes now getting ready to face Guerrero. The Expos having the bases full here with 2 down in the inning.
And there you see the numbers on Darren Holmes coming over from the Colorado Rockies. He is appearing in his 17th game, the 4.57 ERA. He's worked 21 2/3 innings, has 14 strikeouts. This guy, we've seen him in the past, and he's got a pretty good live fastball, a big over-the-top curveball, and he'll face Vladimir Guerrero, who started this inning off with a double off the center field wall, actually on 1 bounce. He later then scored on Rondell White's double that fell in front of Chad Curtis, the throw-in that got by Chuck Knobloch and then Tino Martinez. And Vladimir Guerrero was able to score the Expos' first run of this game. So Darren Holmes is called on to try and hold this one for Andy Pettitte. And Andy Pettitte worked 6 innings. He allowed 5 hits, a couple of earned runs, only walked 1 and had 7 strikeouts. Then it was a very erratic Mike Stanton who came into this game, followed by Jeff Nelson, Graham Lloyd, and now here we are, Darren Holmes, the 5th Yankee pitcher.
Guerrero, batting .311, has 2 hits in 3 at-bats tonight. Double to lead off this inning. Up for the 2nd time in the inning. He checks. 1 ball, no strikes. Bases are full. In case you're thinking about the long ball, the Expos have only hit 1 grand slam this season. It was Brad Fulmer on May 30th at Pittsburgh. Pitch hit high down the right field line, and it is foul.
Well, I remember a game last year, Dave, where Darren Holmes was on the mound for the Colorado Rockies and threw a changeup to Henry Rodriguez, who won the game in the bottom of the 9th inning. But this a little cutter, and Vladimir drives it to right field, but it finds its way into the stands.
A foul ball, 2 balls and 1 strike. And make no mistake about it, Guerrero has as much power to the opposite field as he has to left field. 2 strikes on Vladimir Guerrero.
Good fastball there by Holmes, and once again maybe the little bit of inexperience by Vladimir Guerrero, where Holmes went upstairs and Guerrero came up empty.
2-2 with 2 outs. Guerrero drives the ball right center. The center fielder diving, can't get it. The tying run is home. The go-ahead run is home. A 3rd run has scored, and Guerrero's out at 3rd base. A double. He has knocked in 3. And the Expos have taken the lead 7-5 over the Yankees. Vladimir Guerrero with a huge hit after missing the home run on a foul ball down the right field line. He came back. Here it is.
A high fastball, drives it into right center field. Curtis was not able to come up with it after a diving, valiant effort. And there's Guerrero with those long strides. And a good play by Paul O'Neill, who got it into Chuck Knobloch. But 3 runs later, the Expos lead it 7-5.
7 runs in the 7th inning for the Expos to lead the Yankees 7-5. Steve Klein is the new pitcher.
There's the numbers on Steve Klein. You saw the 1-3 record. That one in there for a strike. The 2.22 ERA. And Steve Klein has not allowed an earned run in his last 13 appearances.
He'll be asked to get the Yankees here in the 8th. And then they would have Uget Urbina, their closer, go after the Yankees in the 9th inning. 1-2 pitch. Missed outside. Luis Sojo had an infield hit in the 1st inning. Since then has grounded out and flied out, so 1 for 3 on the night. O'Neill will follow, then Martinez. Ball is popped foul. Out of play to the right.
I know how the New York press can be. Andy Pettitte is not going to win his 8th game. Joe Torre made the move of bringing in Mike Stanton, and again we figured that it probably was an injury to Andy Pettitte, and then it turned out that the reason for Stanton to come in quickly to the game, and then all the stuff that happened thereafter.
1 away here in the 8th inning. Let's take a look at the Yankee lineup, see what they've done so far. So their hits, they have a half a dozen of them, been pretty well spread out. And Paul O'Neill's coming up here with a 17-game hitting streak on the line.
Yeah, that 17-game hitting streak, one of the better streaks in the American League this year. And facing Steve Klein, who's been very good in his last 13 appearances, that we said. An appeal down to third base umpire Terry Tata, and there was no swing. But that dates back to May the 11th for Steve Klein. 13 2/3 innings have passed with not allowing an earned run. And just in case, Miguel Batista begins to loosen up in the Expos pen and hopes to at least get to that 9th inning for Uget Urbina. So the Expos trying to hold on to this one right here in the 8th.
2 balls and a strike to Paul O'Neill from Steve Klein. Two and 2 the count.
Good breaking ball right there from Steve Klein.
O'Neill goes down on strikes. So far so good for Klein. Paul O'Neill now 0 for 4 tonight, and that could be the end of the hitting streak.
And a couple of strikeouts, but right here a good breaking ball from Klein, and O'Neill goes after a bad pitch.
Defensively, Brad Fulmer, who had such a huge hit, he's in the game at first base. Batter Tino Martinez. Jose Vidro has remained in the game. He's over at third base. Ryan McGuire has moved to left field.
And some of the games that we have seen Ryan McGuire play in the outfield, he's done a great job. So a little bit of the plan that we mentioned about FP maybe going to left field, it turns out to be McGuire, and Fulmer takes over at first. Tim Raines has also come out on the on-deck circle to possibly hit for Darryl Pittsburgh.
Ball is hit in the air to right, and Guerrero back on the wall to make the play. And Martinez is robbed of an extra base hit. Klein got a scare, but he retired the Yankees. 3 up, 3 down in the 8th inning. 7-5 Montreal. The Expos lineup tonight, and with the changes and the people that came on in that 7th inning, the complexion of this game has changed. So that lineup doesn't really do justice to what's happened, does it? But the big story is right there, Vladimir Guerrero.
Oh boy, what a night he's had. He's taken over also the Expos RBI lead with those 3 RBIs, gives him 37 on the year. A couple of doubles, now 13 on the year, but the big blow was that 3-run double. That was outstanding, and 3 for 4 on the night, keeps his average above the 300 mark.
2 of the youngsters, and not to overlook Brad Fulmer coming off the bench and delivering that 2-base hit to the right field corner. Here's a high pop-up off the bat of Rondell White. Paul O'Neill lost his cap, but he stayed with the ball. 1 down in the bottom of the 8th inning. Urbina heating up in the Expos bullpen to come on to close it out in the 9th. That will be his assignment. And I would guess, Gary, if you looked at the entire list of teams in Major League Baseball right now, the toughest team to close out would be the New York Yankees.
Absolutely. They have been outstanding, trying to keep that winning streak intact. That first pitch into Widger for a strike. But they have been, as we mentioned earlier, 9-game winning streak and are 5-0 in interleague play. The Expos trying to squelch that. But the Yankees, with that 46-13 overall record, this one might be a very demoralizing loss to them.
By the way, the 7-run 7th inning is the Expos' biggest inning of the season. One ball, 2 strikes to Chris Widger, who is 0 for 2 with a walk, scored a run in the 7th inning. Down on strikes here. Holmes with his first strikeout.
It looks like Widger stays in that slump a little bit, even though he did draw a walk in that 7-run 7th inning. But he just went after a bad pitch.
Ball 1 to Gressolani. Two balls, no strikes. Park attendant taking care of a cap that had been tossed down onto the field by some of the youngsters. Gressolani swings, doesn't get it. 2-1. He has had hits in his last 2 at-bats. Holmes, the 5th Yankee pitcher. Expos saw all 5 of them in the 7th inning. Another oddity about tonight's game.
Yeah, really it forced Joe Torre's hand with the injury to Andy Pettit. We still have not received any word on what the injury was, but Mike Stanton didn't have his good stuff, and then obviously Jeff Nelson and Graham Lloyd came in, and we are just now. No, I guess no report available. Okay.
Two down, 2-2 the count on Gressolani. Out of play to the seats down the right field line. Well, the Expos hold on and win this game, and some of those mistakes that were made back in that 4-run fifth when the Yankees board will be forgotten.
Absolutely. When you get a victory, all of those other mistakes that happened are past history, and they are definitely forgotten and forgiven as well.
That's fouled back to our right.
Darren Holmes, like a number of pitchers that come in from relief because they spend so much time with runners on base, pitches from the stretch position even though nobody is on base. And he has at times has struggled with his delivery. He's tried to deliver from the very beginning of a pitch and do the full windup, and then he's done it from the stretch, and it seems as though he's had more success from the stretch, so that's the way he's going to stay.
Payoff pitch. Gresolonic pops one foul again. He's fouled a bunch off here.
Just making Darren Holmes work a little bit. And we know that Gresolonic does not walk very often. He's only walked 13 times in over 250 at bats. Oh, he walks here. How about it?
A 2-out walk to Gresolonic, and the third baseman Jose Vidro will bat. He came into the game as a pinch hitter in the last inning, delivered a sac fly. Vidro hitting at .222, but as we mentioned earlier, has started to put things together now. And that .222 batting average not indicative of his hitting recently.
Well, Jose Vidro is a good quality hitter. Maybe early on there wasn't that indication, but Felipe Alou has stayed with him and has hit safely in his last 7 games since June the 1st. So you know that once that confidence level gets to where Jose Vidro maybe has it right now, then Felipe Alou feels confident enough to keep him in there pretty much on an everyday basis.
1 strike on Vidro, 2 out. He takes low. When we get to the 9th inning, scheduled for the Yankees are Strawberry, Curtis, and Brosius.
Now, Tim Raines was out on the on-deck circle, but with Uguet Urbina coming into this game, and he stands ready and waiting in the bullpen, probably Strawberry will hit.
Holmes moving Gresolonic back to the bag. Well, you can never take anything for granted in any game, can you? How would you figure? There goes the runner, Gresolonic, on a pitch out, and he stole the bag. Gresolonic with a stolen base on a pitch out, and he comes up with number 10. He's 10 out of 11.
And you know what? That's not a bad play, even though that the Yankees smelled that one out and called the pitch out. But off of Darren Holmes, he doesn't deliver the ball to the plate very quickly. Gresolonic got a good jump, and the result, stolen base.
Broken bat ground ball to the Expos bullpen. I was going to mention that you can never take anything for granted in any game, but how would you figure that the Expos would wind up having their biggest inning to date this season against the Yankees?
That's baseball, David, right? That is baseball. That's the ever-loving game that we have enjoyed for so many years that you never know what's going to happen. And when you say you've seen it all, something else pops up.
Yeah, that's been one of my favorite sayings. About the time you think you've seen it all, go to one more game.
There you go.
Bounder here to first base for the 3rd out of the inning, and Gresolonic is left. Uguet Urbina coming in to try to close it out against the Yankees. 7-5 Montreal. Well, World Cup tonight with Vic Rauter tonight at 10:30. And you'll find out what has gone on throughout that whole story taking place and unfolding in France, the World Cup. Right here, the story that's unfolding is the Expos comeback. Down 5-0. The Expos now lead 7-5. They've had their biggest inning to date this season. And the closer, Uget Urbina, is in the game in quest of his 15th save.
Appearing in his 28th game, look at the nifty 1.47 ERA. And the thing that I love is what opposing hitters have hit against Uget Urbina this year, 179. So Uget faces a tall order here with Darryl Strawberry, Chad Curtis, and Scott Brocious.
The ball is in the air to center. Under it, Rondell White, one away. Chad Curtis, the batter. Curtis 1 out of 3 on the night. One strike to Curtis. Urbina, who has all of the Expos saves, 6th in the National League. 1 ball, 1 strike. .37 strikeouts in 31 innings. Has been clocked at 96, 97 miles an hour.
Well, look at that one. Watch your lips over there. And Chad Curtis has just lost his bat. I'm sure there'll probably be an exchange made, and I would imagine that Curtis would like to keep that bat. But a nasty slider, a late breaker, and Curtis comes up empty. And they have retrieved the bat for Curtis's sake, but I'm sure, and that's why you're hearing all the boos and all, but I'm sure it will be replaced. That might be one of Curtis's favorite bats. But in that particular instance, it didn't turn out to be the way he released it.
At least right now, yes, what you would call the gamer.
Right.
1-2. And a ball hit in the air. Rondell White over to right center for out number 2.
Well, Uget Urbina 6th in the lead in saves with 14, trying to pick up save number 15 and save this one for Mark Valdez, who would pick up his first victory of the year, pitching the 2 innings, allowing just the 1 run, the home run to Tino Martinez. And the fans here at Olympic Stadium, all 16,036 of them, are on their feet.
Strike 1 to Curtis, or rather to Brocious. He is 1 out of 3. .75 Expos. Urbina looking for the biggest out of the night right here. Ball is popped up, and that should do it. Bresolanek is under it, and the shortstop puts the squeeze on it. The Expos have come back to beat the Yankees from a 5-0 deficit. Their biggest inning to date this year, a 7-run 7th inning, and they've beaten New York 7-5.
Oh, David, what a special game this was. The fans here at Olympic Stadium loving it. A good job by Mark Valdez picking up his first victory. The loss ends up going to Jeff Nelson, who goes to 3-3. But tremendous play on everyone's behalf in that 7th inning, capitalizing on a couple of mistakes. Vladimir Guerrero, 2 doubles in that inning and 3 RBIs. That turns out to be the game-winning hit, as the Expos have gone on to win this one 7-5.
Player of the game for the Expos is Vladimir Guerrero on behalf of CSA, and the player of the game for the Yankees on behalf of Standard Auto Glass is their starting pitcher, Andy Pettit. 7-5 Expos. Valdez the win, Nelson the loss. Urbina a huge save, and the Expos have beaten the Yankees. Now it's time for the TSN Turning Point. Gary?
Well, a very special hit here off the bat of Vladimir Guerrero. 2 doubles in the same inning where the Expos plated 7. Guerrero tommyhawking that fastball from Darren Holmes, and a great effort by Chad Curtis. He comes up empty. Vladimir Guerrero tried to make it 3, but a good play by Paul O'Neill, Chuck Knobloch, and Guerrero's out at third. But in the meantime, plated 3 Expos to take over the team lead in RBIs now for 37.